What's up guys, my name is Josh and welcome to the part 2 of the STAX review. And this is where I'm going to be talking about the different energizers that I was using in listening to the L300 Limiteds. If you missed that review, it is down in the description down below. I highly recommend you check that out because the L300s are incredible. So right off the bat, do energizers matter? Yes. One, they are proprietary towards running STAX headphones, as a lot of you may know. But do they matter going from one to the other? Also, yes. My goal today is not only to lay out the usability differences between something like the SRM D10 and the SR-353X 80th anniversary edition, which is right here, some nice B-roll for you. But I also want to lay out the sonic differences because they are there and they are present, and in some circumstances and some frequencies they are quite substantial. So I'm going to run over all that today. Okay, so what are some of the drawbacks and benefits of each? Well, this energizer that I'm holding right here is the SRM D10. Now, this energizer, the main benefits are that it's actually a mobile energizer. You do not need to have this hooked up to any power, no cables whatsoever. Now I realize a lot of you are like, why would I want to take STAX mobile? Like, they don't look that great, probably wouldn't want to be seen out in public with them. I totally understand you. But just the ability to go from maybe your office to the couch or a different part of your house and not have to be stuck at a desk or move a big box from A to B could be incredibly useful. And it's just kind of one of those like usability things. It just makes it a little bit easier to deal with, and you can listen to STAX in a comfortable chair in your living room and then go into your office and hook it up to the big energizer if you were like the guy who sent these out, where you have both. You're living the dream. Now, another part about this particular energizer, not necessarily the 353, is that the 353 is just an energizer. The D10 is a DAC and an energizer, so it's also a DSD DAC if you're somebody who cares about that. Now, with this specific energizer, really the main focus is going to be that mobility factor. You can hook this up to a desk, you can leave a DC input into it. There is line in for, just the energizer, and then a micro USB if you were using the DAC amp out of it. It does not have Bluetooth. Now, I know some of you people are rolling over in your graves saying, why would you hook up Bluetooth to STAX? But I mean, if you're gonna go mobile anyways, it might be nice just to have this hooked up to your STAX, on the end table next to your couch, and then just be playing off your phone or whatever, or streaming from your computer, without having to have another line going from your phone or going from your computer all the way over. So I just felt like if they were gonna go mobile, they really should have committed to it. So that is something that I would have liked to see with this. So what are the benefits and drawbacks with going something like this, which is the SRM-353X 80th anniversary edition? It matches the L300 Limiteds, which is awesome. So one of the main benefits of going with this energizer is that it actually has dual inputs, including a balance input. You can actually run this as a balanced amplifier. It does have pre-outs, and it does have to be constantly powered. This is obviously not a mobile energizer. There's a couple more benefits. You have dual outputs, and I don't have two STAX to verify whether or not it puts out the same power out of both. I did switch between the two, and they didn't seem to have any power discrepancy. But since I don't have two STAX to test out, I'm not sure if you plugged in both, whether it would play out the same volume from both, or if it would minimize the volume output of both, or if it wouldn't affect anything at all. I don't know, maybe somebody can inform me in the comment section down below. Now, this also does have a very odd volume dial, and it was something that I initially did not like at all, but now I actually do. One, it's smooth. It is a little bit hard to see because there is a little bit of a black notch there, but they didn't color it, so it's kind of hard to make out exactly where you are in the volume. I tended to keep it anywhere between 40 to 70% turn, depending on the actual volume of the song, since I don't have everything matched at the same output level on my computer. And that was kind of the range where I felt comfortable listening. I never really got anywhere near 80% or higher, obviously. So for the L300 Limiteds, it was more than enough power. But one of the cool things about this volume dial that I initially didn't like was the fact that you can actually change the channel balance. You can force it a little more towards the left or a little more towards the right. Now, I've heard through rumors, can't verify this for myself, but I've heard that old STAX used to have pretty big channel imbalances. That didn't seem to be a problem with the L300. Now, here's the part that I don't like. I would have liked to see a notch in between the two dials where it would show you where the exact center for the actual energizer is. And then you can determine whether or not there's a channel imbalance on your STAX from there. The problem is there is nothing to notify you exactly where like the true north is going to be. So what I had to do was go to foobar, set everything to mono, and then find the dead center, and then switch everything back to stereo again. And I feel like they could have just made it a little bit easier to get dead center without having to go through doing all of that. Now I'm gonna get into sound here, and I wanna talk about the changes that were heavily noticeable going to the least noticeable. So things I still noticed, but weren't quite as obvious as some of the bigger changes. And before I do that, I want to preface this by saying that I do not know much about energizers. I don't know much about electrostatic headphones. I am a person who cares about the end result. If I see a change at the end, I don't really know along the lines what's causing it or how it is. I just care about what I'm hearing. I'm not a technical person in that aspect. You may know. I'd love to see somebody fill everybody in the comment section down below if you know what exactly would be causing this. Maybe it's just power. Maybe it's going to be the energizer works in a different way, or maybe it's going to be something different. I don't know. I'm just here to explain the end result to you. Okay, so here's what I noticed. First and foremost, the absolute biggest change was the bass response. And this actually helped me isolate a problem I was having on the D10 that I didn't know I was having. I thought it was just part of the music and I wasn't sure why. I was listening to my standard bass testing songs, you know, Yoshi Hirakawa's Interlude, and then a song that I have been using for a while to test real low end, like, you know, below 50 hertz, well below 50 hertz, which is going to be Losing the Light by Explosions in the Sky. Now, if you go and listen to that song and you can't hear any sub bass, it's because your headphones or speakers do not go low enough. I highly recommend checking that out if you have a subwoofer or a bassy set of headphones because it's incredible. So here's what I found overall, and then I'll kind of explain the issue. A substantial amount of impact and increase in total volume output in the amount of bass response below 100 hertz. Above 100 hertz, it didn't seem to affect that much, but like sub bass areas, it was absolutely, like by far, impacted by the different energizers. The D10 did not play it quite as substantially. On the D10, I was barely able to hear things below 50 hertz. And on the 353, the below 50 hertz range was obvious. It went from barely being present to obviously in front of you. And like I said, I am not sure what's causing this. Even when I lower the volume to, you know, below my normal listening volumes and listen for the bass response, it was still there. So the 353 is pushing the low end significantly harder than the D10 is. Now, what was the issue with the D10? With the D10, I don't know if it's clipping or what the issue is in the bass response. But when I go real low, there's kind of like this, it's not popping. It's not a popping noise. Like, it's just like the driver just does not seem to move that way. Like, it's just not doing it. It's not going there. And initially, how these arrived to me, they only had the D10 with them, and then the guy who sent me these, very generous gentleman, thank you very much, you know who you are. He chooses to remain anonymous, which is why I'm not saying his name. He had ordered the 353 a while ago, and it took a while to ship, and when he got it, he just sent it right over. And so what I had initially determined was the, you know, nature of the electrostatic headphone, because I always hear that they don't have that much bass. My opinion was actually initially not changed when I plugged in the 353. I didn't notice that much of a difference. So I talked to the guy who sent him out and I was like, hey, there's not much of a difference here. And I don't know what to do. Like, am I not capable of hearing it? Like, I don't know. He's like, oh, let's just like leave the energizer on for like 24 hours. And I'm not a huge believer in burn-in for amplifiers, maybe for headphones because you're talking about like actual mechanical movement and things have like this settling period. Anyways, that's not important. But when I plugged them back in, it was different. And it wasn't just me mentally assuming that, because at first I wanted to hear a difference, but I didn't. And then when I did the burn-in, I wasn't expecting there to be a difference, but there was. And it was obvious, and it was a lot. And so I was like, okay. So I hit him back up and I was like, hey, I was wrong. It does actually make a difference. Anyways, bass response is going to be the biggest difference between these two. There's not much difference in terms of the mid-range, and switching between energizer to energizer is kind of a process because you turn them all the way off, you unplug it, plug it into another one that's turned off, then you turn it on, then you try and volume match as best you can. Now, the bass response was really obvious to me. Now, because of that long process, I was able to do a very quick like A, B, A, B, A, B with it, like I would do with the normal set of headphones. And I'm just not plugging it in while it's on, out of me being cautious, because I know that electrostats are really finicky and can have some serious issues if anything goes wrong. Anyway, so the mid-range didn't change that much. Imaging and soundstage was, well, soundstage was approximately the same. Imaging was slightly tighter on the 353, and the treble was also a little bit more present, a little bit more alive, a little bit sparklier, especially between 10 to 20K area. That was definitely a little bit more forced towards you on the 353, and not nearly as much on the D10. So if you were into a little bit more treble, then the 353 is the way to go. Now that treble kind of lended itself to just feeling like everything was a bit more resolving, like just more. It didn't seem to really affect the mid-range that much, but it just felt like everything just had a very nice fit and finish with it. Now, by me saying this, was the D10 a bad experience? Before I got the 353, I wasn't even expecting to receive the 353 because I had, I think, the STAX for like a week and a half before he even hit me up about that. It was a great experience. Just when I got the 353, it was just a little bit better. And if we are doing a comparison, the 353 is better and the D10 doesn't really have anything over the 353 except for the mobility and size factor. And that's gonna kind of bring me into the conclusion. If you need it to be mobile, or if you can afford both, buy both. But if you need it to be mobile, well then yeah, go with the D10 because that wasn't really a possibility with STAX energizers before. If you're only gonna be listening on a desk and you have room for a big energizer like that and you just want that extra sound quality, at not much extra cost than the D10, by the way, then the 353 is definitely the way to go. I noticed enough difference to warrant the extra cost, especially if you enjoy bass like I do. I really like sub bass. I don't like too much of it, and this really had a great balance with the rest of the music. More on that information from the L300 review. Now, on bigger, badder, and better energizers than the 353, the difference between the D10 and the 353 does make me believe that even going up 1 or 2 levels from the 353 probably does make a difference. I can't verify, that's just my assumption and my prediction. So overall, are either of them worth it? Well, honestly, both are worth it. I think that if you're gonna go from a sound quality perspective, 353. If you're gonna go from a usability perspective and a size perspective, go with the D10. And I think that's gonna wrap up this part 2. Thank you very much for watching. I do new videos every single day, so subscribe if that sounds interesting. You can find links to purchase everything down below, as well as Patreon links if you do support what I do. And I will catch you guys tomorrow. Peace.